Hey everyone! Glad to have you back to another exciting episode of our channel. NDE Diary brings you life-changing stories of near-death experiences from different people all over the world. If you are new to the channel and are someone who enjoys learning about life after death, you would definitely find our videos intriguing. So now, without any further ado, let's start with today's experience. Today's story comes from Jeffrey Couture, a teenager who dies and meets God in a near-death experience. He was destined to go to hell, but God forgave him and changed his life. Hello, I am Jeffrey Couture. My fascination with rock and roll began at 8 years old when my father gave me a Hagstrom guitar and began teaching me to play. My parents were devout Catholics who made me and my siblings attend Mass and Catholic school at Fairfield. But by the time I reached 8th grade, I had started straying from the church. God became irrelevant to me. I had found a new God. I started listening to heavy metal groups. Just like you are what you eat, you become what you listen to. I was a kid trying to live a life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I didn't go to class in my freshman year at Fairfield High School because I partied a lot, so I dropped out and explored playing in a band. By the time I joined my first band, High Treason, I had begun to reject God. My father gave me an ultimatum and told me that if I wasn't going to follow the rules, I had to find another place to live. So, I moved to Florida, and for $400 a month got to sleep on a couch in my sister's friend's apartment. I worked nights, and at 4 a.m. when my shift was over, I joined the other metalheads and partied at bars on Fort Lauderdale Beach. I worked nights, and at 4 a.m. when my shift was over, I joined the other metalheads and partied at bars on Fort Lauderdale Beach. At 19, I was working at a convenience store, was into all the wrong things, and dreaming about being a heavy metal guitarist. That's when Jesus decisively stepped into my life. One day, while I was selling my blood at a blood bank, there were complications because of the substances I was taking, and I died because of those complications. My soul left my body. Before we continue the story, we would like you to take a moment to sincerely appreciate your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel if you genuinely enjoy viewing these kinds of stories. This way, you will be able to stay up to date on all of our new releases. Make sure to link up with us right away. Let us continue the narration. I woke up on the other side in a big black abyss, and the only illumination came from a light on a hill. I knew I was dead instantly. I knew immediately that God existed. I knew I was in purgatory, and I could see the sky in the distance. At that moment, I understood my mistakes and the gravity of my sins. Around me were millions of souls facing heaven and waiting outside the gates to get in, but I couldn't get any closer because of my sins. I could feel love, grace, and everything you could desire and want. It was there in heaven, but the evil in my soul did not let me go there, although the desire in my soul wanted to be there. This agony of not being in heaven is hellish. You burn with desire, and that is the burning of purgatory. It's the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced in my life. Suddenly, my guardian angel came to meet me. He was tall and dressed like a samurai warrior in shiny armor. He carried 2 swords and scabbards crossed in front of him, and he wore a breastplate with superimposed steel plates on his arms and hands, and a helmet covering part of his face. His skin was translucent, and his eyes were jet black. The angel brought me back to earth for a review of my life that revealed every sin and every consequence. When I experienced a sin, I could feel its effect on my soul and the effect on the other person. I saw whenever I went into mortal sin and when I was responsible for those whom I have led into sin. And every time I experienced it, I could feel it pressing on my heart and taking away some of my holiness. At the end of my life review, the angel told me that I deserved to go to hell. I accepted it. I couldn't deny it because I had chosen to do those things. The soul cannot deny the truth of itself. I had to give in to God's justice. Even though I was in purgatory, I knew that hell was waiting for me. There was no escape. When I accepted my judgment, I felt a great sadness in my heart, not because I would be punished, but because I realized that God is real. I could feel His presence and His love for me, and I knew He didn't want me to go there. And I was sorry. At that moment, he appeared in front of me. It was like lightning behind me, and I could feel energy pulsating. It was huge, like a mountain, and then suddenly it stood behind me in human form. When he announced his presence, I could feel the evil within me as I tried to escape. Goodness, light, and purity emanate from him, and darkness cannot exist in the light. I was like, damn, my parents were right about God. I was wrong. I had denied God. Ignorance is one thing, but I had rejected him. At first, I was afraid to face him because I felt that if I looked at him, I would die. He made me look at him. He resembled the image of divine mercy, but his hair, eyes, and body were emanating light like white fire. No description can capture his immensity. Then he spoke to me in the most beautiful words. He said, "I love you, and I forgive you." He told me to do unto others as he has done to me. He purified my soul and filled it with grace. It was the only time in my life that I ever felt complete and fulfilled and loved more than anything. Then my angel came to me and returned me to my body, and when I woke, I was being driven home. Immediately, the real world seemed to me like a fake shell. The reality was what I had left behind. Within a week, I transformed my life, cut off my evil friends, and changed my look. I moved to Colorado, and there I started a new life with my aunt and uncle. I met a priest who helped me in my recovery. It took me 3 years to overcome my addictions and recognize my calling to the priesthood. Life was just throwing stuff at me. All I wanted to do was to serve God. I didn't care about money. I just wanted to study the Bible, serve others, and share my life experience with them. Then one day at church, a nun was there talking about vocations and pointed at me and said, "Son, you know when God is calling you to be a priest." I heard the voice of God telling me to follow him. And that's what I started to do, but not without challenges. I was sent back to get my high school diploma. After I completed my education, I moved to Florida, where he taught religion at a Catholic high school. Since then, I have never looked back. I have served at Street Edward the Confessor Church in New Fairfield, Street Mary's in Bethel, and Street Peters in Danbury. I was also a chaplain at Immaculate High School in Danbury and Western Connecticut State University. For several years, I have been the pastor of Street Francis of Assisi in Weston. This life is temporary. We are destined for heaven, and God has a plan for each of us. We must fulfill Jesus' mission for ourselves. We all have our own way of doing this. Mine is as a priest. Our goal is to go home to heaven and lead as many people there as possible. And that is what I am trying to do. That's it for today, folks. Have you ever discovered a new realm in your near-death experiences? Have you seen Jesus or other crucial figures in your near-death experience? If yes, make sure to leave a detailed comment where we can read your thoughts on the experience and impact of your near-death moment. In case you liked this video, do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Also, subscribe to our channel to support us in growing it. Share the video with your friends and family so they can have a fair taste of life after death and near-death experiences through our channel. Until the very next time, stay blessed.